type popularized in communion by Streiber. O.H.Kryll, same general appearance, although has a different finger arrangement and a slightly different face. More sophisticated than Grade 1. They possess a degree of common sense and are somewhat passive. It is not known if they require the secretions needed by Grade 1. Grade 3, same basic type. Lips thinner, subservient to other two types. Other entities known to frequent this planet, though blondes/Swedes/Nordics, known by any of these names, similar to us. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Will not break law of non-interference to help us. Would only intervene if the great activity would affect other parts of the universe. Go interdimensional entities that can assume a variety of shapes, basically of a peaceful nature. So short humanoids, 1.5 to 2.5 feet tall, skin bluish in color. Seen quite frequently in Mexico near Chihuahua. Hairy dwarfs, 4 feet tall. Weigh about 35 pounds. Hairy, neutral. Respect intelligent life. Though very tall race, look like us but 7 to 8 feet tall. United with the Swedes. Nordic clones, appear similar to us but with great tinge to their skin. These are drones created by the grace. Child-like mentality, though men in black myth oriental or olive-skinned. Eyes sensitive to light. Eyes have vertical pupils. Very pale skin in some types. Do not conform easily to our social patterns. Usually wear black clothes, drive black cars, and wear sunglasses. In groups they all dress alike. Sometimes time disoriented. They cannot handle a psychological curveball or interruption to their plan. Often intimidate UFO witnesses and impersonate government officials. Equivalent of our CIA from another galaxy. Although there are some 40 or more known types of aliens visiting our world at the present time, these are the most commonly seen types. Extract of information from UFO Contact from Undersea. Sanchez/Stevens Section 1. Regression Session. Filiberto Cardos Subject Event Date January 3, 1979 UFOCII. During the regression sessions the following information came forth. 1. Subject was taken to one of 3 pyramid bases. 2 pyramid bases are under ocean, 1 on land. Subject was taken to base between Bahrain and Santiago of the coast of Chile. Other underwater base is in the Atlantic in an unspecified location. The base was entered through an underwater tunnel. The aliens stated that they had been there 36 months at that time. 2. Aliens told the subject that there were six other individuals whom the aliens had contacted. 3. Subject stated that the aliens voiced that they were eventually going to make themselves known to the world. 4. Aliens stated that they control the Chinese, and they have provided the Chinese with a device that can paralyze cities and towns completely. 5. Aliens stated that the device will cause a change that is going to be something for which the world cannot wait. The Chinese are to provoke certain unspecified changes, and that in those changes, people who are negative will disappear. 6. Subject remembers seeing future scenes of people running disoriented along roads, and that there is a disaster coming. 7. Details of underwater tunnel described as walls of firmed water, not rock. The ship evidently generated a force field which repelled the water around it. 8. Devices were supposedly installed in subjects' head by aliens. Subsequent X-rays revealed nothing. Session 3-1. First contact with these groups of aliens began 4,000 years ago. 2. It has been thousands of years since this group last descended to Earth. 3. If progress on Earth does not continue, aliens will use more forceful demonstrations to get their point across that we must have peace and progress. 4. Subject was interrogated for 15 days after the events by U.S. security and intelligence services. 5. Information from aliens had also to do with an atrocity in the plan certain forces on Earth had planned. 6. Subject was 7 years old when contact with aliens first occurred. 7. Aliens have ability to dematerialize their craft. 8. Aliens stated that we should beware of other alien groups who will present themselves in a good light, but if they pursue bad objectives against us, they could do two things. They could destroy this planet with the same arms that this planet has, or on the contrary, transport away all our arms in one operation, which would take no more than 20 minutes of our time. They can be visible or not, whatever they choose. 8. Sick treated references 81 other crossbreeds from negative aliens who have performed duties on Earth. Half alien, half earthling equals crossbreed 9. Aliens spoke of great portions of land and whole cities will sick disappeared. Mexico City and major cities in California. History and operations. Operation Trojan Horse. The amusing little mystery of flying saucers slowly evolves into a complicated series of coincidences and paradoxes as we plunge deeper and deeper into the data, excluding nothing, and considering everything as objectively as possible. Our skies have been filled with Trojan horses throughout history, and like the original Trojan horse, they seem to conceal hostile intent. Several facts are now apparent. The objects have always chosen to operate in a clandestine manner, furtively choosing the hours of darkness for their enigmatic activities over thinly populated areas, where the possibility of being detected is slight. So the hostility factor is further supported by the fact that the objects chose, most often, to appear in forms which we can readily accept and explain to our own satisfaction, ranging from dirigibles to meteors and conventional appearing airplanes. The objects of unusual configuration, undoubtedly constituting the defective minority of all the paraphysical objects flitting about in our atmosphere. In other words, flying saucers are not at all what we had hoped they were. They are a part of something else. John A. Keel called that something else Operation Trojan Horse. When one really digs into UFO literature, it readily becomes clear that the ultra-terrestrials deliberately conveyed whatever impression that would meet the available frame of reference for that time. Until 1848, the religious frame of reference was constantly used by the phenomenon. As man's technology improved, many of our old beliefs were discarded and the phenomenon was obliged to update its manifestations and establish new frames of reference. No more objects were seen in 1947 than had been seen in 1847. We were simply seeing them in a new way. A new game was being played with us. A new game has emerged, the artifact or hardware game. The phenomenon has always obliged us by planting false evidence all over the landscape. UFO cultists trapped themselves into a hopeless situation almost from the outset. The apparent purpose of most of the landings seems to have been to advance belief in the frame of reference, not to provide absolute proof that the frame of reference is authentic. Physical evidence. All kinds of junk have fallen out of the sky throughout recorded history. Ivan T. Sanderson has in his files extensive lists that go back to Roman times. Ridiculous things such as stone pillars and heavy metal wheels have come crashing out of the blue, and there are countless cases of ice blocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, dropping all over this planet. The flying saucers have been spewing all kinds of trash all over the landscape. In nearly every instance, These materials always prove to be ordinary earthly substances like magnesium, aluminum, chromium, and even plain old tin. Each of these incidents gives the skeptics new ammunition. Mysterious hollow spheres have also been dropping out of the sky all over the world. 3 such spheres were found in the Australian desert in 1963. They were about 14 inches in diameter and had a shiny, polished surface. Efforts to open the spheres failed, and they were turned over to the U.S. Air Force. Other metal spheres have dropped out of the sky in Mexico 1967 and Conway, Arkansas 1967. The Mexican steel ball was identified as titanium, the one in Arkansas is steel. Smaller colored spheres were found scattered over the French countryside in 1966 to 67, as if it had been raining balls there. Where is all this stuff coming from? The same place as the stone pillars and blocks of ice. Innumerable cases of contact and landings have been flushed down the ufological drain because of the deliberate negative factors. Sincere witnesses have actually been ruined because the amateur UFO investigators have accused them of being liars and worse. Another fascinating game which the Ufo'S play with a vengeance is the Repair Gambit. Beginning in 1897, there has been an endless stream of stories and reports, many from reliable witnesses, on how they encountered a grounded UFO and observed the occupants making repairs of some kind. The basic details in all these stories are so similar that it seems as if the Ufo'S are following a carefully rehearsed procedure. Generally speaking, there are three types of beings observed in relation to UFOs. Normal-looking people, including females. Oriental, dark-skinned beings. Unidentifiable creatures, who have made a real effort to hide from witnesses. Oddly enough, when all the reports and the data is in, the scope of the phenomenon and the overwhelming quantity of reports negates its validity. An analysis of cases indicates that flying saucers are not, in most cases, stable machines requiring fuel, maintenance, and logistical support. Most of them are, in all probability, transmutations of energy from other dimensions and do not exist in the same way that this paper exists. The UFO phenomenon seems to be largely subjective, that is, specific kinds of people become involved and are actually manipulated by the phenomenon in the same way that it manipulates matter. These subjective experiences are far more important to our study than the random superficial sightings. We are obliged to forget about the sightings and concentrate on the claims and experiences of the contactees. Thousands of UFO photos have been taken since 1882. There's just one problem, with very few exceptions. No two UFO photos are alike. The sightings forced unacceptable answers upon us, though all the witnesses were mistaken or lying. Though some tremendous unknown civilization is exerting an all-out effort to manufacture thousands of different types of UFOs and is sending them all to our planet. The governments of the world overtly have maintained variations of the first proposal. UFO enthusiasts accept the second. There is a third proposal which merits some attention. Some hard objects definitely exist as temporary materializations from other dimensions. They leave indentations in the ground, then they land. Witnesses have touched them and even been inside them. These hard objects may be decoys to cover the multitudinous activities of the soft objects. The soft objects hold one of the keys of the mystery. There are countless sightings of objects which changed size and shape in front of witnesses who often get the impression that it was alive, that it was not behaving like a mechanical object at all. There is no question at all that there are intelligences that can manipulate or materialize any kind of object into our dimension. Let's take a look, for a second, at the electromagnetic spectrum. As you know, our visual spectrum makes up a small portion of the whole. Look at what's involved with UFOs. Ultraviolet blue UFO entry field _